Before we get into the video with Scoop, I just want to update a few of the guys here in this Tigers squad. We did the video before the trial on the weekend, so just some of the important guys I wanted to update before we get into the rest of the players there. Obviously, there's plenty of different options across this team. Guys like Isaiah Papali'i probably doesn't change too much this weekend, and there's a few guys that will pop up across the season, and we speak about all their prospects there. Johnny Bateman sounds like they're not going to rush him back, so it could be in the first month or so. So hopefully that means good things for Blory. He played okay on the weekend, but really wasn't spectacular. If he gets the starting spot, I think we have to have him in our sides. We've got Adam Dewey. I think he played really, really well. I think he deserves a spot in your side if you're interested in him for sure. Then we go down the line a bit. We hear that Joe Offengawe is going to be back in round one, so be aware of Stefano Utoikamanu and his potential minutes because Joe is a big minute guy, most likely in that 13 role, but it's important to note that that could affect Stefano, who played okay on the weekend. He played better the week before, but he didn't look anywhere near as good as Clemmer or have the similar role to what Big Clem had there. And then Tommy Talau is probably the only other one there. He played much better in this game here, so if you're looking to him to start in your centers or wing fullback, that duel's really nice, then he's going to be really helpful for your side. Guys like David Nofaluma looked really nice as well. On that right side, who looks like there's going to be plenty of opportunities there. Clem looks solid, guys, but I wouldn't be picking him up. I just think he's a little too expensive. We didn't get to see Brooks, but it'll be nice to see him and Dewey play together in this round one, as well as Api Coruscant as well. For Noah Pole, he played a solid game, but he's going to be too expensive. And Charlie Staines, there's still some talk that he could play in the one position over Dane Laurie, but I think either of them are just probably too expensive at this point. Okay, let's get to the main scoop. Tiger Town, a super relevant fantasy team this year. There's a bunch of guys that are potentially undervalued and some cheaper options, along with some potential guns that we'd be looking at. Let's kick it off with Adam Dewey to start. What are your thoughts on him? A very contentious topic, Mr. Adam is.
Yeah, I quite like Dewey. I think he'll get a little bit of uptick in goals. At full time in 5/8 last year, he had 300 kick meters, which I think will go down, but he averaged 62 and he's priced at 54. I think he can get at least probably around that 60 mark. So I think he's a really good buy. You can go him, Burton, and Hastings, a couple of those, and I quite like Dewey as probably my favourite option out of those three at the moment.
Are you thinking of him as your highest priced half?
No, I have both Hines and Dewey at the moment, and then I've gone down to Boyd as my backup.
Okay, cool. That sounds good. I think that's solid. Very hard to do both. You're still seeing a few teams with Cleary and Hines, which is interesting. And some of them aren't too bad, to be honest. If you're going a lot of the value guys elsewhere, you're probably just giving up a fair bit of value a fair few guns potentially in those mids, right? But yeah, there's so many ways to skin the cat with this one for sure. So Dewey, yeah, I completely agree with that. There's definitely potential for him to increase his role and play like he did last year, for sure. Let's talk Shawnee Blore next. So potential for him to start, potential for him to play on the bench. He is on the bench for this trial. Thoughts?
Well, we've been looking at him. He's been really unlucky with injury, and we're hoping he finally breaks out. Based trials, so maybe not an option as much anymore. But if Bateman has more visa issues and can't get there in time and get match fit, maybe we won't see him for the first rounds and Blore becomes more relevant.
Yeah, it's a very interesting one. He really needs to start though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if he's there round one, I think he's in my team and I'm playing him. If not, he's on the bench. He tends to average somewhere around his price point, so not ideal at all. Let's look to their early season. So we've got 6 rounds out of them before their first bye and then get them all the way to 13. So really, definitely enough time if you're looking at cash cows for them to make some cash, right? You happy with that?
Yeah, I think round 7 is awkward for guys if you're holding them through a suspension or injury, but a really good time to jump off cash cows.
Yeah, and the start there, they've got Titans, Knights, Dogs to kick it off, and then we go to Storm, Broncos, Eels. So that first 3, if you're looking at guys to potentially score decently well in terms of some outside backs and some halves, I think that's a pretty fine start, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a really nice start with this Tigers team needing to gel a little bit, but they have got some soft teams, so they might win at least 2 of those, and I'll be really interested to see where they're at against an improved Bulldogs side in round 3.
For sure. That's going to be a fun game, that one. They're both going to be improving, right? And plenty of different combinations, which will be cool. Johnny Bateman up top. So him at 809k, just too expensive to start with, and especially he's not even in the country yet. So what do you say? Plenty of visa issues. Someone said it was like a $45 issue or something.
Yeah, imagine being held back over a $45 issue when you're on a lot of money to play footy. At the same price as Payne Haas, who might not be match fit, he might not be ready. He hasn't had time to do combinations with them. I don't know if he'll start the year, and definitely don't bring him into your fantasy team until later on.
Yeah, and this could be good thing. Could mean good things for a few of these players, but it could be a little bit scary as well because we don't know when exactly he's going to start. Hopefully we find out some exact dates of return in the next week or two or before round one so that we can make some decisions on guys like Blore, Matamua, these types of players that have some potential, benefits in your fantasy team. Can we quickly just go to Joe Alfangawi? I haven't found anything on him in terms of injury-wise. Is he well? He's not in the trial team this week either.
Yeah, I'm not really sure on him. He might just be one of those guys that is being rested, getting ready for a long season. It is longer this year with 27 weeks in regular season. Yeah. So you've seen it a bit with guys like DCE being rested in the trial. So maybe he's just one. But yeah, want to just check that he doesn't have a little niggle going into the season.
Yeah, obviously not really relevant at the moment with, a few of these big forwards coming in, Bateman, Papali'i, these types of players. So more just in... thoughts around guys like Utuka Manu, Blory, Matamua, these types of guys that people are really interested in as to if he's going to affect them because he will be a bigger minute forward. It might be 50 minutes this year, 55, 60, but it's still going to take some minutes away from these guys. So, yeah, very interesting. I just wanted to chat about him. Just remember, guys, that he is going to be coming back and taking some minutes from these players. So, Lukey Brooks, thoughts on him this year?
Well, he probably won't go down. I think the Tigers being better... maybe it finally is Luke Brooks' year to break out and unleash. But I think he definitely has a little upside. I just think Dewey will take the main playmaking role and kick goals and just has a little bit more upside. Their edges will be very dangerous. No matter which side, it will be probably Bateman or it will be IPAP, and they will be very dangerous to pass the ball to or to create an overlap. And with their running, I think both of the halves will have an uptick. I just think Dewey has a little bit more upside than Brooks. Yeah,
well, Dewey's definitely keeper, right? And Brooks is not. So that's pretty much all we need to say there. We got Sione Fainu. He's a bit too far down the list, as you've got there. Asu Kapoa. Spoke about him in Cheapy's video. We've got him as someone that scored okay, right? But is he even going to get that spot to start? We don't actually know yet, right?
No, it might be Stafford Toa, it might be Talau, might be him. It's not certain at the moment.
Yeah, so low job security. Let's avoid those outside backs, unless it is Tommy Talau, which we'll speak about in a sec. We've got David Clemmer. Is anyone interested in him? I haven't heard too many guys speak about him. Do we see him getting the same minutes?
No, I don't think so. In that Knights pack, he was pretty much the leader. He played the big minutes. In this team, with so many guys like Offa Hengawi, Bateman, IPAP, him, I just think that he won't get the massive minutes and the massive responsibility that he's had in the past. I think all of the really expensive guys probably cancel each other out a little bit and come down a point or two. They'll still probably be keepers you want to pick up later, but not to start with.
Yep, agree with that. Api Coruscant, any interest in him going to a slightly lesser, obviously a lesser team than the Panthers?
Well, the thing is, he'll probably get more tackles, but he might not get the attack that he once did. However, he is the type of guy that might put that responsibility on his head and do it himself. So maybe he has some uptick, but until I see his minutes, I'm not really interested. There's safer guys. Even Jaden Brayley around his price, I think, is a little bit safer and better to go for instead of Coruscant, but he is one to keep an eye on because he will be wanting to hold on to that bench origin spot with him and Cook, because Robson is definitely coming for that jersey if he doesn't keep his form up.
Yeah, I'd say he'd be straight in that team, surely. He was so amazing last year. You got Simkin. Yeah, that's probably a guy that we need to look at to see if he's on the bench, right? And if he is, Coro will be playing that 55, 60-minute role, which is great. Like, he scores great in that. Scores good in big minutes. Doesn't really matter too much, but he needs that 80 to have any real value there. Dane Laurie at 35 there, priced at you got him as a little bit of a slight interest?
Yeah, I just think with the Tigers not being wooden spooners this year in all likelihood, with a massive forward pack to run behind, potentially has some upside, not enough to really be interested for Classic, but maybe one to pick up a little bit sneakier in draft, because instead of averaging maybe 35, maybe he can push high 30s or even closer to 40.
Yeah, we need to see it, right? We've got Kemba Marlowe there. You've got him, when he wasn't injured last year, scoring about a 30 mark. So he's priced at 25.5. Just probably not enough, right?
Yeah, not enough. There's just too many outside backs with a little bit of job security issues, and we don't know how well the Tigers will go yet, whether they're just out of sort of bottom four contention or really trying to push into that log jam just below the top 8. So one to watch, but yeah.
For sure. Brent Naden, he actually looked really good on the weekend in the trial, but very much the way with him. He'll have some great games, he'll have some poor games, hence the 21 average. You said there he's got a few mid-30s in his game when he came over here, but then tallied off after that. So let's avoid him. Even at that price, there's just other better options for sure. David Nofaluma, he's someone that I know you've spoken about before. You've got him as a void at the moment. Too expensive?
Yeah, I think so. If he hadn't had that Storm stint, which pushed his price up maybe 2 or 3 points, he might have been worth a little look. With Hastings on the right, he did score 7 tries in 7 games because Hastings had the ball so much in his hands. He is an offloader, a big tackle break, run meter type of guy. In a better team, he might do a little better this year. But with that Storm stint pushing his price up to 39 instead of like a 36, I don't think you can start with him.
Beautiful. Isaiah Papali'i, we got him at a beautiful score of 62 average there. Is he too expensive to start the year, considering, like you say, you might go down a little bit, you think?
Yeah, I think there's just so much money in him that you've got to be really, really sold on him to start. I think he's one to probably pick up in round 8 or something like that, heading into the Origin period as a non-Origin keeper.
Yeah. Big thing there's just the fact they've still got round 13 and 17 buys, so he misses a few games in there. At worst, you're picking him up in round 18 for the rest of the year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully we've got a clear idea of what he, type of role he's playing at that stage of the year. We got Fanua Pole. We've got him at 35 priced at, which is very high, so I'd be avoiding him. The minutes won't be there like they were last year, that's for sure. All right, we've got a couple of the cheaper guys now. You've got Tristan Riley, you've got as an injury watch.
Yeah, he's one of the outside backs that's sort of the young up-and-comer, but until he gets into the team, he's not an option.
Beautiful. Okay, we go to, let's move on all the way through to Charlie Staines, who a few people will know, who are more beginners to NRL Fantasy. We get him at 26 price point. Way too much?
Yeah, too much until he's at fullback, really. And there has been a little bit of Tigers training at 2 positions, Laurie training at fullback and 5/8, Staines at wing and fullback, and even Dewey at in the halves and in the centres. But until he is fullback, just don't buy him.
Yeah, I agree with that. Guys, if you'd like to join the private group, I'd appreciate that. Jump in the description below. The link is in there. Plenty up for grabs in terms of prizes and all the great information that won't be offered for free here on YouTube, but will be in that private group. So get in there. Tommy Talau, we've got him as our cheap guy, centre and wing fullback. We were both discussing just beforehand that he's potentially out of our sides at the moment, but the week's trial that has just gone, we will get a little bit more information out of him. So if he comes out and plays really well, it looks like he's back from that injury, and that's all we're looking for. Is if he's not there straight away, even if he does start, probably won't score super well. He'll be missing a few tackles, potentially a few drop balls and stuff, and the Tigers will work into the season. I think we could pick him up after a few rounds if he is absolutely cranking it and doing great. That's all you've really got to say there, Locke, as well, yeah?
Yeah, well, he just hasn't played enough footy recently with the injuries. When he's got a few games under his belt, I think he'll be good. Until then, he'll probably be a slow starter.
Yeah, and then Stafford Toa is the other guy fighting for that centre position, but him at 412 is a bit too expensive, I'd say. And along with Junior Tupou as well. He's been priced down from his 28.8 average, which is nice. So a little bit of interest on him if he manages to get that spot and lock it down as well, right?
Yeah, he's got more interest than Toa. 319k, he's probably one you can look to do if he is in the team. But yeah, I'd prefer somebody that is 250k for that backup center.
Yeah, agreed there. Alex Twile, a bit too expensive for the minutes he's going to get. And then we got Stefano. I'd love to hear your thoughts on him.
Yeah, the Bateman issues might actually help him out a little bit because they might rearrange their forward pack and have him even at starting prop. I don't know if he'll get enough minutes, but he'll get a little bit of an uptick. If he does start at prop, I see him getting around that 40 minutes. And it's just hard to know how long he keeps that with so many other big minute forwards squashing everybody else's minutes and value. I think he might push up towards 500, but I can't really see much past that. So whether it's quite enough, whether you go a little bit higher than that with guys like, you might have to go a bit higher or a little bit down, even to like a Makatoa, but he's risky as well. So there's sort of a no man's land, and he's the only real option, which is why people are looking at him. Some value, but until he plays really big minutes, not really the best option.
Yeah, I'm personally a little bit worried on Stefano just with how he played last year. If he plays a super good trial again this week, you can look at him and go, yeah, potentially some value, could get close to a point a minute, and at 40 minutes there would be a good pickup. But there's every chance that he gets those lower minutes. If he doesn't play as well in this trial, you probably pushed off him. Everyone he really jumped on him that last week, right? When he played a really good trial, and I was like, oh, he's back, let's do it. So just be cautious with him for sure. Justin Matamua at 230, so he's going to be great if he gets a roll. But if he's on the bench, do you avoid him?
Yeah, I think so. There's so many big minute forwards that he'll be just there for his 20 minutes and then back off again, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. Any final thoughts on Tigers?
I'm really, really keen to see how they go this year. I say that for a lot of teams, but them and the Bulldogs have a really big uptick this season, and I'm keen to see if they can push towards that logjam below sort of the top 8, that 7th to 10th area with the Bulldogs, Eels, Broncos, those sort of teams that are fighting for that spot, whether it takes them a bit to gel and they make that step next year.
Yeah, I think they're going to be, as always, close to that 8. How good they can go, whether they change between a 9th and a 10th position to like a 6th to 8th if they go really, really well. But definitely some good signs for this Tigers team and their fans. So there's that one, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. See you later.